Welcome back into 27 News, where I'm here once again with District 2 Councilwoman Christina Valdivia-Alcalá today. So last night you all had a meeting, right, about the crisis that's been happening in Oakland. I think it's fair enough to call it a crisis, the homelessness issue that has been happening there. So if you wouldn't mind just breaking down, you invited city leaders, Topeka Rescue Mission, Vallejo Behavioral Health, all of those people were there. What was accomplished?
One thing I think that was definitely accomplished was the voices of Oakland folks and North Topeka folks were heard. It has been, I don't think that there's ever been a meeting like this set up, and with continuing to work on this issue now going into 4 years and feeling like there wasn't a lot of movement, and neighbors feeling, and community members, people that I represent, feeling like there's not been a lot of movement with issues changing along the encampments, the unsheltered mentally ill in neighborhoods. And so it was time to have the meeting. I think the best thing that was accomplished was that people's voices were heard. There were a lot of leaders there that sat in really to listen. And I think that there is still going to be a huge amount of work to do.
So, you said people's voices were heard. People were able to tell their stories. And so what kind of solutions were able to be posed, in relation to those stories and those concerns that they're having?
There really wasn't a lot of solutions that came up, because the goal was to first and foremost let the people be heard, because this part of the community often is not heard. And they've been dealing with issues, especially of the chronic unsheltered, of a handful of almost terrorizing men in the community that get arrested, and it's a revolving door where they're back out on the streets. So I think that what was frustrating for many is that, number one, the DA was not present. And while many had heard him on another TV show stating that there's a certain level of criteria that a mentally ill person has to get to be considered dangerous, well, in Oakland that's already occurred. And so that was disappointing, but we do need to say that Oaklanders have great compassion for the homeless, for the unsheltered, and for the mentally ill. There's no crimes in any of that. However, when you have a population that is so infringed into neighborhood life and has created such a sense of unsafety, where you're not letting your kids out, your grandkids out, you have people lurking, you have people stealing, you have fires and all of that, then that becomes the issue.
And of course, I know that they mentioned that they're starting to lose pride in that community as well. I mean, they want to have their grandchildren play in the yards. Yes. It used to be that way for a lot of those members and a lot of those community members, and they're upset that it's being taken away from them, is what I'm hearing from
Absolutely. The drive along River Road, and I would suggest anyone that wants to see what the encampments are like that are not from the area to drive along River Road, and you look at the encampments, all of that gets people down. It depresses the area. It can impact property values. And both North Topeka and Oakland have a very strong history of people staying in those communities. They've been there for decades. They've been there for generations. And when they see that continued diminishment and nothing addressing it, yes, it does cause a great deal of anger, frustration, and how do we change this?
And so lastly here, I just want to end on this note. What do you want to see done and changed, and who are you holding responsible for that? I'm
holding responsible everybody. And I'm holding responsible the DA to talk to his constituents, the county to become more involved with the city, while the city is starting up a good plan that is dealing with homelessness, that could be 2, 3, 4 years. What is going to be done now? What is going to be done now about the fires, about the trash, about the public health crisis, about the handful of men that are lurking in neighborhoods, and the lack of safety to school children? What is going to be done now? That's what I would leave with.
Well, thank you so much, Christina, for coming on and staying a little extra time today to speak with us about this topic. We greatly appreciate it.